Welcome to Catalytic Leadership, the podcast designed to help leaders intentionally grow and thrive. Here is your host, author, and leadership and executive coach, Dr. William Attaway.
Hey, it's William, and welcome to today's episode of the Catalytic Leadership Podcast. Each week, we tackle a topic related to the field of leadership. My goal is to ensure that you have actionable steps you can take from each episode to grow in your own leadership. I believe, like Craig Rochelle has said many times, that when a leader gets better, everybody benefits. Your team, your department, your customers, your clients, your spouse, your kids, everybody. Each week, we spotlight leaders from a variety of fields, locations, and organizations. My goal is for you to see that leaders can be catalytic no matter where they are or what they lead. I draw inspiration from the stories and journeys of these leaders, and I hear from many of you that you do too. Let's jump in to today's interview. I'm so excited to have Annie Delre on the podcast today. She is a nationally board certified health and wellness coach who has worked with hundreds of clients to help them achieve a life of confidence, wellness, and success. Her mission is to empower all women to be strong, independent, and confident. Along with multiple certifications, she earned her bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in integrative wellness coaching. Her certifications include Integrative Wellness Coaching, Life and Success Coaching, Neuro-linguistic Programming, Clinical Hypnotherapy, and Emotional Freedom Technique. Originally from New Jersey, she now calls beautiful San Diego, California, her home. Annie, it's so great to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I would love for you to start off by sharing some of your story with our listeners, particularly around your journey and your development as a leader. How did you get started?
I would say school probably is something that I really took pride in myself. I went to school, I swear, right?
We believe you.
I'm like, should I show proof I have my diplomas over here? Because I feel like getting educated, and this does not mean having to go to school. I'm even talking about certifications or free certifications or reading the books to become an expert. So reading one book on leadership, that's awesome. Like, I don't want to downplay that, but I wouldn't call that person an expert in the field after reading one book.
Right.
And it's a little worrisome that people do that because especially if they're taking money from other people, or just the fact that the misinformation that they potentially could be selling, or teaching, excuse me. So, well, I guess selling too, right? Like that's the real problem.
Absolutely.
So that's why I got my bachelor's in psych. I grew up in a quite dysfunctional family or environment. So, which I think is what inspires 99% of mental health professionals potentially, because unless you've suffered or have seen others suffer, I don't think it's as obvious the importance of solving that problem or trying to be part of that solution.
Yeah, that's so true. So how did you begin to grow and develop yourself as a leader from that place?
Number one, starting to teach people it, right?
Yeah.
Teaching and also living it. I have seen people, like, let's say someone, I don't know if this is a harsh example, but someone that's 55 pounds overweight and teaching health and wellness.
Yeah.
But it's all a mind-body connection, whether we want to admit it or not.
Absolutely.
So 5, 10, 15 pounds overweight, okay. We're all on our own journey. But 55 plus, that's unhealthy. It's already measurable results that's unhealthy. Yeah. So leading by example, and in a non-judgmental way. I know I just said something super judgmental kind of.
No, but I think leading by example, saying I'm going to go first in this. I'm not going to try to tell you to do something that I'm not willing to do, that I'm not going to exhibit in my own life. but you go
That's
do
so
that.
great.
Yikes.
Right. I heard it works, so
Right.
you go do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Um, Definitely being a leader, and also teaching the idea that everyone's capable of being a leader.
Mm.
I I think I became a leader because I took lead in most situations. I would ask the questions that other people didn't want to ask, like in the classroom,
Oh, that's
or
good. Yeah.
people didn't want to take the project, so I'd be like, I'll take it, or didn't want to do the public speaking, and I'm like, I'll do it. Okay. And I guess the idea of leading by example, and then showing other people like, I didn't plan that speech. I just winged it. Like, so can you. You know this topic. Why not? Why not you?
Mm. That's good. So how would you define leadership then, based on your experience and your learning?
I would say taking the reins of situations like that, or like being the one who will head the project, or uh, being the one who's open to be a mentor. That's another one.
Mm.
Um, I think leadership should come in hand with mentoring,
Mm.
but it's a problem that some people want to keep the rein, or like
Yeah.
see it more competitive. As I don't know why this example is coming to mind, but one of my clients was studying for the LSAT and
Mhm.
was talking about how hard law school was and the competition. And so they gave an example of, if you leave your computer in the library, like say to go to the bathroom, people will steal it just so you're not better in class than them, just so you're not scoring better.
Wow.
I know. And then
Yikes.
I coached another client, and they happened to be doing that. And I mentioned, oh, my client said this. And they're like, no, Annie, I've seen it happen. I've seen people sabotage each other in class. I'm like,
Wow.
so I don't know why that came to mind, but just the idea of I don't know. I don't know why that story came to mind. I guess more of like, you don't have to sabotage the people like below you. Let's lift them up. Let's teach them what worked. Let's let's produce more of what works.
I think that's so good. And that goes along with something that I'll talk about a lot, which is the importance of building up the people that you lead. As a leader, your
Mm.
job is not to elevate yourself. It's not to make
Oh,
yourself look great. It's to empower and invest in the people that you lead, to equip them to
mm,
help them be great. That's the highest calling of a leader. And I love what you're describing there,
yeah,
incorporating mentoring as part of leadership, because that's part of that. I want to
yeah.
help you. If you're on my team, I want to pour into and invest in you, not so that you'll do a great job for me and make me look great, but so that I can help you to achieve the goals and dreams that are inside of you.
Oh, beautiful. Yes, yes,
Hmm.
totally. I totally agreed. I love that word, empower and invest. Those two words. Like, I'm investing in your self development.
Exactly right. You talk a lot about wellness. Obviously, you are very well
Yeah.
educated and well credentialed. What do you find is the biggest wellness challenge, and how do you
Mm.
overcome it?
I'll give a more general one and then maybe more specific. But the general idea is asking for the help.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
I know that's an obvious step one,
Yeah.
but you can't address your wellness unless you're at like accepting that there may be someone who can help you with it.
Oh, that's good. And that goes far beyond just one component of wellness, doesn't it? That goes beyond just what people normally think of when it comes to wellness, which is the physical. But this would also
Yeah.
go into the mental, the emotional, right? Every component of your life.
Yes. Yes. I teach it as, have you heard of the wellness wheel before?
No.
Um, well, think of a wheel, right? Or
Yeah.
think of a pizza pie. I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
And each slice is a different area of life. So this
Mhm.
could be physical health, but it's also environmental, financial,
Mhm.
relationships,
Yeah.
your career. So
I use a similar
wellness is
tool.
something.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
The
Or
wheel of
I
life.
think
Yeah.
wheel of life. I was going to say, okay, it's
Yeah.
more commonly known as, yes.
Yeah.
Um, and showing people, even showing my clients that, they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And either the idea is, wow, I'm not struggling as many areas. Uh, I have them to keep score.
Mhm.
10, amazing. 1, I'm
Mhm.
really struggling in this area. Um, and sometimes they realize, like, wow, a lot of these areas I scored 2s in. no wonder I don't feel good about myself. No wonder I'm feeling lousy. No wonder I don't feel like a role model to my kids.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'll have them draw a line, how far up the pizza pie piece, right? Like a 2 is at the bottom, an 8 is toward the top. And then so you connect all the lines. And I'm like, now imagine driving on that wheel. So in some
I love
places you've
that.
got an 8, in some places you've got a 2. So it's like driving on a flat tire, right? And you just every day, all day. I mean,
It is.
that's not going to be a smooth ride. And that's what they're experiencing. They're experiencing that bumpiness, that jarring, that inconsistency in their life.
Yes. Yes. And not just that, but it's so easy to find the other people who are doing well in there. Because all you do
Yeah.
is open your phone and look at social media.
Yeah. Looking at everybody else's highlight reel and comparing that to your day to day.
Exactly. They're like, I'm a new business owner and I'm struggling financially. This ad says that this person did a Facebook ad and made $3 million overnight.
Right.
And they've been in business for 10 days. Why haven't I made $3 million overnight? And you're like, oh my goodness, right? But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that one, but
But that's part of wellness, right? It's part of the
yes.
overall wellness of the individual. So how do you help clients with that? I mean, leaders are listening and they're like, well, I don't know if wellness is part of leadership, but really the hardest person you will ever lead is yourself. You can't take
Ooh.
anybody any farther than where you are. So you have to focus on making sure you are leading from a place of wellness and health so that you can be at full capacity to lead other people. That's why this is so, so important to me and why I was so excited to have you on the show. So how do you help clients who are struggling with some of those areas where their ride is bumpy?
Well, there's, many different ways to help with these areas. But number one is identifying where do you want to start. So people see that
Good.
wheel and they're like, oh my gosh. But
That's good.
the idea of pick one, because I'm sure either you've experienced this or heard of people who are like, starting January 1st, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week and I'm going to read 5 books a week and I'm going to eat green only and I'm going to and then it doesn't even happen one day because it's too much, right? And then you feel terrible about yourself because you're like, I can't even do it for 1 month in January and this is supposed to be the life-changing moment. As opposed to being like, it is a Tuesday, March 14th, and you can start working out today. And you don't need to go to the gym and you don't need to buy weights and you can do it in your living room.
Yep.
This is
Congratulations.
great. This is
That's
actually
right.
really good. Right. Like, I'm super glad we talked about this, but picking one and realizing you don't have to conquer the world overnight.
That's good.
And I don't know how inappropriate this saying is. I really don't. But it's the saying of balls to the walls. Like, you don't have to go balls to the walls. Like, yes, 3 days a week of working out is going to really help you mentally and physically. I do agree that'll make a difference. But you don't have to set that goal right now.
Yeah.
It could be 10 minutes 1 day a week in your living room.
That's good. And if you miss one, it's not like, oh, now I have to throw the whole thing away because I missed one.
Totally. And the other thing I say, like, I'll use that example because it just happens to be common for my clients coming to me, even for professional or personal, is, okay, we missed a day. We feel terrible about ourselves. Or you realize it that night you're watching Netflix. Get up and do 5 jumping jacks. And there you go. You got some movement and you didn't before. Like, that's the point. You didn't do that before. Or sit on the ground and stretch. You don't have to turn on a 30-minute yoga. Touch your knees. Let's start with that. Like, let's start with raising our hands and getting a good stretch. Let's start. Like, we're not in a bodybuilding contest.
That's right. Not in a contest at all, right? You're not comparing yourself to somebody else. You're comparing yourself to you. I heard somebody say this the other day, and I really liked it. Just because you missed one, that doesn't mean it's the end of the race. Just say, I'm not going to miss 2. I'm not going to miss 2. Okay, I missed one. I'm not going to miss two. I loved
Yes.
that. I love that redemption that is inherent in that. That hope for no, I'm not done yet. I'm still here. Don't miss
Yes.
two.
Yes. Yeah. And a big one, and this is just like a general coaching idea and should be for life, is what can and can't you control?
Mm,
You cannot control missing that goal that day. If the day
yeah,
is past, right? Like
yeah,
if it's the past.
yeah,
But what can you control today?
yeah.
This exact second. What can you control? Go. Like
Absolutely.
this is exciting. This is exciting though, because the
Yes.
past is the past.
Yeah.
Great news.
How do you build confidence with a client who is lacking in confidence?
Mm. There's there's three things that I do. I call them letters. All
Mhm.
right. The first like letter to yourself is the compliments that you receive.
Mm, mm,
Um, I encourage doing it on your phone only because you can grab it real quick to write
mhm,
as you get them.
mhm.
And personal and professional from strangers. Some of my some of my clients who feel they don't have a sports some of my clients who are coming with very low confidence say to me, I've never gotten a compliment in my life, which,
Mm,
number one, the chances of that being true are slim to none. But
yeah,
especially if you're coming in, let's say, with low self-esteem or like depression,
yeah,
all you're thinking about is your current state. You can't remember the
right,
past, and uh, or it's not as clear. So writing down compliments, if you say you have none, asking specifically someone in your life, what do you think is um, appealing about me, or what do you
good.
like about me as a friend?
Yeah.
And even that exercise is a game changer because you're going out of your comfort zone to ask for that where you normally
Mm,
wouldn't.
that's good. That's good.
Um, and when you realize the room doesn't close in on you when you ask someone to share
Yeah.
something with you and you feel better, you're like, okay, that was worth the 2 minutes of uncomfortableness.
You talk about mindfulness in your practice. Why do you
Mm-hmm.
believe that is such an important part of what you need to be building as a leader?
Mm. Because you don't know what you don't know.
Mm,
Like, just simply put, if you
yeah,
don't know something has hidden sugars in it and you have it every day
yeah,
and you're not understanding why you're crashing,
yeah.
you didn't know, so you didn't stop that behavior, or you're not aware.
That's good. That's good.
So building mindfulness allows you to gain awareness.
Mm. Hard to see the whole picture when you're in the frame. And
Ooh, yeah.
I'll often tell clients that's the value and the reason why I've had a coach for many years, because I need somebody who is outside of my normal everyday experience, who's going to see things that I don't see, who's going to help me by
Mm-hmm.
asking me questions that maybe nobody else in my world is going to ask me.
Totally. Yes. Because they're there for you.
Yes.
They're paid to be there for you. It's not, I say to my clients all the time, it's not the Annie show.
Yeah.
I'm on your team. That's why I'm
Yeah.
here. And you may not have anyone on your team. So let
Yeah.
me be your teammate. Like, I'm here.
There's a lot of talk in the world today about work-life balance and how the last few years have really brought that into this bold relief. People have quit their jobs. I mean, the Great Resignation, so much of it has been centered around the topic of work-life balance.
Yeah.
What is that when it comes from a wellness perspective? What exactly is that? What should we be aiming for? How do you accomplish that?
Okay. So number one, I think it's a little bit of BS. I think this idea of balance, we think of a scale, right? We think of, but that's not life.
Yeah,
If if you sincerely want 50-50, we can discuss and break down how to do that. But at the end of the day, most people do not want 50-50. They
right.
simply don't. But everyone's saying 50-50. You're a professional, you're personal. You got to split your
Yeah,
time. But why? Like, it's your life. And I'm not saying go out and quit your job. I'm not saying to not be a good employee, right?
yeah,
But if going to your kid's soccer game is more important, but most people get promotions if they stay 1 to 2 hours after work, and you're picking the soccer games, That's awesome. That's awesome. That's your balance. Like, or I think a word that I really like to use is harmony as
Mm,
opposed to balance.
mm.
So being in harmony with
I
your
like that.
values and how you are.
Yeah, I like that. I talk a lot about intentionality and being
Mm,
purposeful and intentional in the choices that you make based on the priorities that you set. Not in the moment, not based on your emotion or your feelings, but based on the priorities that you set, and then being intentional with what you do. So much of work-life balance seems to be a lack of intentionality.
yeah.
Like I'm not going to be intentional about this. I'm just going to kind of go with the flow in the moment. Man, when I go with the flow in the moment, I don't make good decisions, so often. I want to make sure that I'm prioritizing what I know is most important, what I have decreed and declared to be most important, and then I'm
Yeah.
aligning my actions with that. There's this dramatic sense of being overwhelmed among so many people in our world. I talk with my clients about this. I'm sure you see this as well. People are overwhelmed. Part of it is the work-life balance. Part of it is the lack of intentionality and prioritization. But we see this even
Yeah.
with younger humans, right? In high school and college age. I have two daughters.
Mm-hmm.
One is a freshman in college this year. One is a high school sophomore. And
Ooh.
I'll look at both of them and their peers. And that's a topic that comes up again and again. This idea of being overwhelmed, just overwhelmed. How do they navigate that? How do people navigate that even beyond high school and college, but particularly with the younger ones, coming out of the COVID
Mm-hmm.
pandemic? What do you say to that? How would you recommend people address that?
The overwhelm. So one of the things is social media
Mm. Mm.
and the idea of
Yeah,
stop comparing.
yeah.
One of the first things I do for gals, like especially the younger gals, is open your social media and get rid of anything that doesn't make you feel good and start following positivity or health and wellness accounts. Doesn't have to be mine. It doesn't have to be mine.
Wow.
Get rid of everything toxic. That girl from high school who got pregnant before you, get rid of it. The people
Mm.
that are buying houses that make you cringe because you're still saving for a down payment, get rid of it. Like everyone, the celebrity that I would suggest everyone unfollow celebrities, and that's just because it's. I was teaching some high school girls the other day. I did a speech on confidence, and they were just talking about their celebrities and how they check their accounts like 100 times a day. And I was like, I'm gonna give you some tough love, and I only say this because I love you. They are never checking your profile. You are obsessed with someone who doesn't know you exist.
So true.
And it's just important to note that you're spending so much energy on Rihanna at the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
You're spending so much energy on blank. Like,
yeah.
how about you work on you?
Mm.
How about you work
Mm.
on you?
I think that's something that everybody listening needs to write down, because there's people in every one of our lives we can share that with. Not in a,
Mm.
oh, go do this type of a way, because that's not how we lead, but in a way like, hey, I heard something today that I thought was powerful and insightful. I want to share this with you. Maybe you think it is too. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Mm.
I would love that. I would love for that to resonate with people and be like, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to pick up my phone or, wow, that hit me hard. I didn't even realize I could resonate with that so much until this moment. I feel like I just got called out. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Called out or called up to a better version of you.
ooh, yeah, that's totally it. That's totally it. Right. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's exactly it.
What do you wish you would have known about working in your field before you ever started?
I think it would probably be investing in a coach sooner. But
Mm.
when you are poor,
Hmm.
it's so hard to understand the importance of it.
Yeah.
So I was paying for school, I was paying for certifications.
Hmm.
I couldn't even afford them, and I was doing it.
Yeah.
So to think of this like kind of luxury as opposed to looking at it same as I'm investing in my future. And
Mhm.
and having someone hold my hand a bit more, because I had no idea. And I'm sure if you go online, you see get rich, get 1 billion followers, be a coach, put on the yoga pants and drink a green smoothie and take a picture. And I was like, and I needed someone who was like, here's business. You got the coaching down. You have your master's in it. You got the skills down. Like, what's the next step? And how do you lead? Yeah.
That's funny. So many of the clients that I talk to, they're really good at what they do. They're really good at providing a service or creating a product or developing a new idea. Mm-hmm. And they start a business, they're entrepreneurs, they start a business, and then they get into it and they have to start hiring people for fulfillment as it begins to scale, right? Or they begin to realize, I can't do everything myself, and they have to outsource. And then they realize people are looking to them for leadership. They're like, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for that. I signed up to do the service, right? Or provide the service of this product. And they don't know what they don't know. They don't know how to step into that leadership role. And that's where I think a coach is so valuable and so helpful. And it begins with leading yourself before you can lead anybody else. And that's what resonates with me about what you've described today. I imagine with as much as you have learned, you're like every other leader I talk to, and that's you're a continual learner. You're always learning. You're always growing. Yes. Is there a book that has really resonated with you that you would recommend that our listeners read?
Okay, so this may be a bit woo-woo, especially for some of the people who listen, but it would be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, sure.
You want to start like understanding a bit more about the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
And almost like not making excuses for yourself, because it's really empowering to know that you do play a role in your life. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to use the word balance, even though I just made fun of it. What's the appropriate amount of balance of trusting that it will work out, but also putting in work?
That's a great book.
Oh, awesome. Glad that you're not like, oh.
Oh, thanks for being on the show. We'll see if this ever airs. Yeah.
Woo! Times it. Right. You're like, I'll clip that part out.
That's great. Annie, as we start to wrap up, I would love to know if there's one piece of advice that you would share with our listeners today. If there's only one thing they walk away with, what would you like that one thing to be?
I'll kind of do it like a homework assignment, like I would my clients. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Is number one, no matter where you are in your like leadership stage, is look for another leader to lead you, and also to mentor someone.
That's good.
So both, find someone that's more advanced than you, and then find someone that even if you're 1 or 2 steps ahead, to mentor.
That's good. Because we never learn as much as when we're investing in somebody else, right?
Totally. And that's the cool thing. It's kind of like being on a team, having different perspectives. Or like you said, the idea of like, I only see what's in my vision. I don't see like unless I'm dissociating. But then if you are dissociating, we should talk about that, like on a more therapeutic level, right?
That's brilliant. Annie, I know our listeners are going to want to stay connected with you. What is the best way for them to do
that? So LinkedIn, if they're more into social media, and my name is spelled ANNIEDELRE, and that's my website too, AnnieDelre.com.
Brilliant.
Or Facebook.
Or Facebook. Okay. Yeah. I'll have both of those links in the show notes then.
Great.
Thank you so much for your time and your generosity today in sharing from your insight and your wisdom. Super grateful.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me for this episode today. As we wrap up, I have a couple of requests for you. I'd love for you to do 2 things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to find this podcast. Second, if you don't have a copy of my newest book, Catalytic Leadership, I'd love to put a copy in your hands. If you go to catalyticleadershipbook.com, you can get a copy for free. Just pay the shipping so I can get it to you, and we'll get one right out. My goal is to put this into the hands of as many leaders as possible. This book captures principles that I've learned in 20 plus years of coaching leaders in the entrepreneurial space, in business, government, nonprofits, education, and the local church. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take a next step with a coach who can help you to intentionally grow and thrive as a leader, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to catalyticleadership.net to book a call with me. And stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, leaders, choose to be catalytic.
Thanks for listening to Catalytic Leadership with Dr. William Attaway. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode. Want more? Go to catalyticleadership.net.